Sketches from Spain, which is just a little mini comics magazine that I publish myself. It's just illustrations mostly, but I wanted to come up with a business card and that I could just give away. But that was filled with illustrations and a lot of my own history. So most of the people that have these didn't pay for them. I just handed them to them. This is another anthology of Madrid writers that I was a part of. Most of the same people that are in this little mini book are in Stray Cats, and I did the cover for it, and I also contributed a short comic that's mixed in with all the short stories, mostly in English. Some of them are actually in Spanish. I think maybe one might be in French. But you can get these all over Malasaña because there's just one guy that publishes these things. He says it's their best-selling book, possibly because of the cover I did. This is a book from last year that I was signing in the Feria del Libro, and it was basically a dream of mine, which was to work with 4 Spanish poets, and I would do all the illustrations for it. And we did this book, and it went over very well. The editorial is Cuadernos del Laberinto, which is a small press that does poetry and stuff. This is a book that I edited in America. I co-edited with a gentleman named Tom Pamplun, who actually has his own publishing company called Eureka. And what it is African American classics. It was the first time that works by Langston Hughes, Zora Neale Hurston, W.E.B. Du Bois, a whole bunch of black writers that were ever translated into comics form. And we gathered a group of black writers and black artists to illustrate these things. So this is kind of an historic work with a whole variety of really talented folks that work in the mainstream of comics, but you would never know that they were black or that they had that in their history because mostly they're drawing superheroes, and this is not that. This is literary adaptations. I do 2 types of comics mostly. I do my own self-published stories and published for mainstream comics, but I love romance comics because they're not really in favor. But I love that medium. It's like anything that could be the story of a comic is something that could be a story in a novel or a movie or whatever. For example, I did 4 books that were about the devil, but the devil was very different in each of these books. It was published by NBM Publishing in New York, which is a French New York kind of co-publication. And the other kind of books that I do a lot of are literary adaptations because I love old classic stories by Mark Twain, Edgar Allan Poe, Mary Shelley. These are all the artists that I grew up studying and learning from. And as a result, the other thing I love about working and collaborating with these old writers is they're dead and they can't complain about what I do to their stories and my adaptations. So I have a lot of liberty with those. But they're my favorite writers and they're the ones that I studied growing up. This is a comic book history of the Black Panther Party, that not the Black Panther superhero, but the political party that I did for a company called Writers and Readers. And it's recently come into reprinting. And I hear they're doing very well with those. I never wait around for publishers to publish me. I do it myself. And just through, I don't know what it was, I always say, soy el niño más mimado en el barrio. I'm the most spoiled brat in the whole neighborhood. And I've had so much luck stumbling across folks. And I met a guy in a bar that had his own printing press. So he printed a couple of thousand of these books for me for free. And so I was able to sell this on my own, usually to anyone who would meet me. That would be your way. It wasn't distributed or anything like that. But it's a series of comic book stories, love stories, because that's my favorite kind of story to write. And I published this recently, just very, very recently. I'm all out of copies now, and I'm looking for a press in in case I can rewrite it and republish it. These two are examples of a series called Floaters, which was a science fiction series that was published for Dark Horse. I didn't write it, but I did all the illustrations. But it was edited by Spike Lee, the filmmaker, and he even gave me a space in his studio to work in while he was working on. It was right between his films Malcolm X and Clockers. So he's basically toiling away, shooting music videos in Fort Greene Park in Brooklyn, which is where I was born in Brooklyn, and actually within a block of the place where we were doing all this. But it was a series, a science fiction miniseries that I did for them. Last but not least, what I have here is Motherfucker, which is a magazine that I published because I thought, wouldn't it be great if you could publish a magazine called Motherfucker? And so that's what I did. You know, my mom was saying, couldn't you call it Mother Lover or something like that? I said, well, Mom, that opens up a can of worms that I don't even want to go into. But what it was that I went to the High School of Art and Design in Manhattan. All my classmates were fashion illustrators, children's book illustrators, filmmakers, animators, and we all wanted to make a book that kind of was inspired by the 1970s funky movies and music and culture that we grew up with, and so that's what we did. And this was a very popular project. The one that I'm most known for, if I'm known at all, was I did a graphic novel called Narcissa. Narcissa was a 202-page graphic novel about a black woman filmmaker who was working on her dream project. And then basically, to make a long story short, she runs off to Spain in an attempt to outrun death. And it's a romance novel, but it's also very political and also very humorous. And that's the kind of work that I love to do. I write comics, and I also write short stories. And one of the greatest joys that I've had over the past decade or two is reading my short stories in the open mic and being a part of the Madrid Writers Group. We inspire each other, and it's a lot of fun to do. And a couple of the pieces that I did for that group wind up in Stray Cats.